Welcome to the Politics Playground. Only last week I was speaking with my friend whose girlfriend recently broke up with him. He referred to her as evil. And many years ago my mum ran into my bedroom one morning and shouted, "Thank God the evil witch is dead," when Margaret Thatcher died. And there is a famous saying, the lesser of two evils, you are still choosing evil. Evil isn't as straightforward as it seems. It can be interpreted in different ways, depending on many variables. But to give you some clarity, evil, by definition, is to be profoundly immoral and wicked. So, we have an official definition. We can start to scrutinise the evil present in Europe, and whether it can be justified as evil. The direct inspiration behind this video was the French President Macron calling a snap election in France. Originally, we were going to cover the possibilities of a far-right government in France, but it seems ignorant to stop there. The far right is having a glorious moment with versions of success dotted all over Europe. But what was the catalyst for this? You could say the recent economic problems and a rise in immigration is causing this resentment for foreigners around Europe. But that's bullshit. I don't resent people with different skin colours, and I don't resent people fleeing their home countries for fear of persecution. I am experiencing the same difficulties as Marine Le Pen or Nigel Farage. Yet I haven't cooked up extremism, nor have I created fear within the people of my country. Is it evil to spread lies and rumours solely for personal career gain? It's certainly immoral, and it could be deemed as wicked, so I guess there we have our first headline. Le Pen and Farage, to name a couple, are evil. President Macron's calling of an election after the European elections has come as a surprise to many. He described it as an act of confidence, saying he had faith in France's voters and in the capacity of the French people to make the best choice for themselves and for future generations. The French president's centrist coalition lost its parliamentary majority in the 2022 elections, and has since resorted to pushing through legislation without a vote in the Assembly, using a controversial constitutional tool known as 49 thirds. Analysts have long predicted that he would face severe difficulties in Parliament in the wake of a heavy defeat to RN in the European elections, potentially including censure motions and the collapse of the government. Sunday's dramatic move, however, is a huge gamble. Macron's party could suffer yet more losses, effectively hobbling the rest of his presidential term and potentially handing Marine Le Pen even more power. The president has presented it as an existential choice for French voters. Do you really want to be governed by the far right? Brilliant question, Macron. I think he knows the answer though. Well, he should do if he has bothered to read the polls. So let's assume the RN take over. Let's investigate their manifesto and how evil or not evil it is. The RN calls for protectionist France-first economic policies and a radical cut in immigration. It would restrict childcare benefits to French citizens and withdraw residency for migrants who are out of work for more than a year. Bad luck if you're a single parent who has to be out of work for medical reasons. That seems immoral to me. The party's aims are to strictly cut down on immigration from non-EU countries, which would include processing all asylum requests outside of France. They would also end immigration requests for family reunification visas and settled immigration status. Marine Le Pen also said in 2022 she would like to amend the constitution, specifically Article 11, to give France's domestic law precedence over international law with regard to immigration. Currently, international law, including the EU's Constitution and Human Rights Charter, takes precedence over France's domestic legislation. However, a referendum on this could only be launched by the President and not the Prime Minister. Unless Mr. Macron steps down after the election, which he said he will not do even if his party loses out, the RN would likely need to wait until at least 2027, provided it wins the presidential elections, for further discussions on this. How about Holland? Holland has been a dark horse in the race to be a far-right power in Europe. They have recently agreed on a coalition to take over government, with a large chunk of that coalition being very far right. Mr. Geert Wilders, the winner of 25% of votes in Holland, has previously stated, "Islam is not a religion, it's an ideology, the ideology of a retarded culture. I have a problem with Islamic tradition, culture and ideology, not with Muslim people." He also has stated the Quran is a fascist book which incites violence. That is why this book, just like Mein Kampf, must be banned. The book incites hatred and killing and therefore has no place in our legal order. He has made his view on Islam very clear, and how uninformed he is. He strikes me as a man who has never had Muslim friends, let alone taken the time to learn about the Quran and the words of Allah. To make such remarks about the largest and fastest growing religion in the world is very dangerous. He seeks to normalize discrimination and to alienate Muslims not only in Holland but the rest of the world. 6 European countries, Italy, Finland, Slovakia, Hungary, Croatia and the Czech Republic already have hard-right parties in government. We can add Holland to that now and potentially France soon. As well, the rise of the Reform Party in the UK, led by Farage, who we have already outlined as evil. Due to the weakness of the Conservative Party in the UK, the traditional right-wing voter is jumping ship and putting their trust in the far right. Because the Conservatives have failed the British people and instead lined their pockets, they are now on track for their lowest number of seats ever, leaving a chasm for the Reform Party. Luckily for me, I have been writing this article from a hostel in Buenos Aires, far away from the troubles of Europe. In the hostel, it's mainly Brazilians who are always legends, as well as people from all over Europe. One Dutch man I met was keen to discuss the current situation in his country. His mother turned out to be part of the team of lawyers hired by the government. He told me she resented working for the new government and did not agree with their views. So in this moment we have to empathise with the followers of the right. To change their opinion, we must first understand it. In times of hardship, naturally as humans we search for something to blame, something that we can see with our own eyes. And in times of hardship, the possibility for hatred rises. As we have less in our pockets and enjoy life less, it upsets us and angers us. In 2023, the European economy saw zero growth, with flagship companies like Volkswagen and Nokia having to lay off thousands of workers. In comparison, post-pandemic, the United States is doing spectacularly well by almost every measure, even if not all Americans seem to think so. Unemployment is at historic lows. Businesses are being created at a record rate and wages are rising fast. And America achieved this by stealing from Europe's big government welfare state playbook and executing it better than Europe itself. Europeans are right to want an explanation from people we trust. We put so much trust in our governments. They decide what to do with our taxes, what laws to govern us by, and how to protect us. For this reason, we cannot blame the followers, only seek to educate them. Finally, the resurgence of far-right movements across Europe, marked by their xenophobic rhetoric and authoritarian tendencies, presents a profound challenge to the continent's democratic values and social cohesion. This rise is fueled by economic anxieties, cultural fears, and disillusionment with traditional political establishments. To combat this, it is essential for centrist and progressive forces to address the underlying grievances driving voters towards these extremes. Strengthening social safety nets, fostering inclusive economic growth, and promoting robust civic education can mitigate the appeal of far-right ideologies. Furthermore, a united front from mainstream parties to unequivocally condemn hate speech and bigotry is crucial. By reaffirming the principles of democracy, human rights, and mutual respect, Europe can steer itself away from the divisive path of extremism and towards a more just and cohesive future. Thanks for watching. From everyone at the Politics Playground, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.